What's up, guys? This is the Who Are They podcast. I'm D2 Nice. I'm here with.
Ziggy Maximus here in the flesh. We're going to be breaking down the fights from UFC 283. A lot of great fights. Let's get to it.
Let's go.
Hey guys. So the first fight we want to talk about here is the opener of the main card of UFC 283. Paul Craig versus Johnny Walker. What are your thoughts about the fight?
Um, it didn't go exactly as I expected it to. Johnny Walker has been one of those guys that I thought he was dope before he got into the UFC. So I was super excited once he did get into the UFC.
And his name, Johnny Walker.
Yeah, well, I mean, that is the basis for why you would like a guy like that. Not to mention, he was a winner who had the flash. Instead of just a guy who was just flashy, he was able to submit himself with his wins. And he also was like the dancing guy who threw really crazy moves inside the octagon. But I did expect Paul Craig to put up more of a fight. What did you think?
I know that Paul Craig is a submission specialist, and he really tried to go for one of his strengths. Unfortunately, it was an ill-advised attempt at that time, and it ended up him getting back fist in the face quite a few times to the point he had to start covering up and got to the point he couldn't defend himself anymore. And shortly after, Johnny Walker got his big W.
Right. It was a short fight. I didn't expect it to go exactly the way it did, but I did pick Johnny Walker.
At Paul Craig.
You had Paul Craig. Just real quick, where do you see Paul Craig going from here?
Honestly, I think he's going to be stuck somewhere, either to open a main card or he might be being featured in the prelims, but I don't know if he's going to be on the main card for much longer. Because it got to a point where it's great that he can do some submission holds and tap people out, but it gets to a point where he becomes very predictable, where that's the first thing he's going to try to go for. And I'm giving big kudos to Johnny Walker for being smart enough to know when he should start doing any kind of strikes whenever he can, because the moment that Paul Craig would drag you down, it's going to be big trouble forever who is going to be caught in that submission hold. But luckily for Johnny Walker, he had that small window of opportunity where he can start wailing on Paul Craig, because he knows that Paul Craig is going to be fully focused on trying to get him to tap out on a submission hold. But Johnny Walker just pounded the flesh out of his face.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely. I would still consider myself to be a Paul Craig fan. I mean, I think he's his level of aggression. I love that he is fighting for those submissions. But I did state in the previous video that can't be your everything. In mixed martial arts, you need to be able to utilize other tactics, especially if the tactics that you're utilizing aren't getting you the W. What is up, guys? We are moving on. We are moving quickly. We are steamrolling. The next fight we are going to be talking about happened between Lauren Murphy and Jessica Andrade. It was an exciting fight. What did you think?
Well, Jessica Andrade, I know, is a powerful puncher, and looking at Lauren Murphy's face over the course of 3 rounds, you can kind of tell she's a heavy hitter. But kudos for Lauren Murphy for sticking out for all 3 rounds and getting battered. But a great win for Jessica Andrade. She's going to probably get another top 5 fight before she can even consider challenging Valentina again for her 125 title. But I kind of like to see where Andrade can go from here. Bright future.
Yeah, I mean, the sky is the limit for a former champion, right?
Yeah.
Lauren Murphy is it's interesting that you mentioned that, she was basically battered for 3 rounds because, she's tough, the heart of a lion, and is an incredible warrior within the octagon. So it's just one of those things where what didn't play out well, right? Because again, there was something that just wasn't clicking, whether it was Andrade too fast, was she too powerful, was it the level at which she hits hard enough to where it discombobulates you. um because I do think that Lauren has the tools to be, top five champion someday. I believe it. What's got to change and what's got to that's going to be the real question, is what needs to be added to the arsenal in order to be the person I know that Lauren can be. Was there anything that stood out to you in the fight specifically?
Now, given that Lauren Murphy does have a huge height advantage and reach advantage, but that got nullified so fast with Priska Andrade. Like, she
Mhm.
got in her space and worked from the inside and started battering her for 3 rounds. And it almost seemed like that reach and height was almost like a disadvantage for Lauren Murphy for someone against Andrade. So it's
Mhm.
like you can't even utilize that kind of advantage anymore because all of a sudden you can't think fast enough how to you fight off someone who's already coming into your personal space and then
Mhm.
start to work on you. And you almost feel like you're powerless against this other
Mhm.
fighter who you would think that for a fighter who's much smaller that you would have an advantage over, but unfortunately that was not the case here.
Yeah. um I know that I had Andrade picked in this fight. Who did you
Me
have
too.
picked? You had Andrade as well. It was just one of those ones. You know what Andrade is capable of
Oh yeah.
when she's on, and when she is on, she is definitely one of those fighters that is, I mean, very capable. And I know she's had some pretty big wars and some very close calls where she didn't always get the nod. But again, championship caliber all the way. She's
Yeah.
exciting, and she's a person I'm going to continue to want to see fight through the ranks to get maybe possibly back to that championship.
It's always a good fight with her, no matter who you pair her up with, you know?
Hmm. I mean, it's either it's going to be a war, or she's going to dominate.
Yeah.
So this one was a little reminiscent of Nunez versus Pena, where it was just there was no answer.
Yeah.
But definitely a great and exciting fight. As you know, this is the Who Are They podcast. It's on to the next. But if you've made it this far and you like what you're hearing, you like what you see, please hit that like button. Make sure you're subscribed. And if you can, share with one of your friends who's also into MMA, and seeing other people get punched in the face.
Hey guys. So the next fight we're gonna break down is Gilbert Burns versus Neil Magny. What did you think of that fight?
Oh, man. So I picked Neil Magny to win that fight.
I had Burns.
1 hour later.
There were aspects of a game in Neil Magny that I said, okay, he could definitely put on a show. Um, I guess my biggest thing with Neil is I knew he could be a bit inconsistent.
I agree.
And I mean, do you ever know Gilbert Burns to be inconsistent? And duh, I mean, absolutely duh, and mentally, emotionally, because you don't know Gilbert to be a guy who doesn't put on the show. Um, it was obviously a quick night at the office for him.
Oh yeah.
He really showcased why he is a champion.
I saw a great performance from Gilbert Burns. I believe he had a big chip on his shoulder. He wanted to prove everyone that he is still a top 5 fighter in the welterweight division,
Mhm.
and eventually he may find his way back to Chimaev, who it was a controversial decision. A lot of people may have believed that Chimaev may have lost that fight, but unfortunately, the judges picked Chimaev to win that fight by decision. So I actually would like to see that fight again.
And, I mean, definitely a close fight. Gilbert versus Chimaev was definitely a close fight. I had the edge going for Gilbert Burns. But listen, neither here nor there, because we're talking about Burns versus Neal, and I hope that you're going to see Burns fight up. He makes a great argument for why he is going down in the rankings. I definitely have to agree with Gilbert Burns. That should not be the direction he's headed in the rankings. And not to get too far on to another UFC fighter who always is going to advocate for himself Muhammad, but let those two fight it out.
I agree.
Muhammad is always going to advocate for himself, which is I expect nothing less. But just remember that people have a recollection of what's going on, and they're going to make a decision on if what you're arguing for is appropriate. And hey, let them duke it out. I would always say that that's better than advocating it for yourself. I think it would be an amazing fight. But what do you think? Do they belong in a fight together? Does Gilbert need to be number 2 or number 3? What's going on in your head?
Honestly, I actually would like to see Gilbert Burns not actually fight Muhammad, but I actually would like to see him fight Colby Covington, actually.
Mm-hmm.
That one would be a great fight, especially since both have great grappling backgrounds. And honestly, I like to see them knock each other out, actually. Make it for a fun fight.
I mean, you're talking about a double knockout at the same time. It's so rare, my friend. It's just so freaking rare. All right. We're gonna keep it pushing, guys. Again, either Gilbert is moving up in the ranks, or he's fighting for the title next, whatever that is. I don't want to take anything away from Muhammad. It's not that I think that he doesn't deserve the title shot. Yes, the advocating 24/7 is a little bit on the annoying side, but that just is what it is. And as always, it's on to the next, baby.
Guys, let's talk about the flyweight championship that took place. Brandon Moreno and Deiveson Figueiredo. Great fight. Honestly, I didn't want the fight to end that early, but it did due to an eye injury that Figueiredo has suffered. But what are your thoughts about the fight?
I mean, man, do we end it there? I don't think you really need to talk about the fight that much. In my opinion, I don't think that if you've had two guys who you've quoted, you can quote Dana White saying that you could see them fight over and over and over again, and nobody would ever be tired or bored of it. I don't think it can go out this way. Now,
I agree.
While I would like it not to go out this way, it sounds like Deiveson Figueiredo has said, I'm done with this division. I'm done trying to cut all this weight. I'm moving up. And if that's his wishes, then so be it. But I'd really love to see something that's conclusive. My real question is, and I'm not taking anything away from Brandon Moreno. He won his belt. He fought a great fight. But the knuckle is what caused that damage. And I just don't know what the rule set is on that. The gloves are made in a certain way so that those things like that don't happen. So that was like my first question is like, how is there so much of a knuckle that but maybe it was like the number 1 or the number 2. I'm not a doctor, you idiot. But just for that one punch to open it up like that, just because you're getting more of the knuckle than anything. What do you think?
My first thought it was a thumbnail actually that I started that cut. Because when he slowed it down, it would seem that Moreno's entire hand, especially where the thumb was right where the eyelid is. And soon after, you saw a huge cut come out from that. And I really thought they were going to stop the fight, do it to like somewhat of an eye poke. But to see Figueredo grab his eye where Moreno's hand was, that left it to be so dissatisfying because for guys to fight 4 times, it's like you never see guys fight 4 times with each other. But I agree. I didn't like how this rivalry may have ended, and the fact that Figueredo may be moving up. But I love seeing these guys fight. But part of me also kind of wants to see them both fight other people too. So
Yeah, I mean, I will never disagree with you that you should almost never see two people fight in the octagon. The same people fight 4 times. Was a great fight. It was exciting up to the point, and I don't necessarily disagree with Dana. I mean, you probably could see them fight 15 times. I wouldn't say consecutively. But you could probably see them fight 15 times over their lifespan, and still be like, "Hey, I will pay pay-per-view just to see that." I would prefer they wait till they're 80 and then have their 5th one and then just throw them in the octagon. That's just me. I'm not saying they have to do it. I maybe even might be like geriatric abuse. I don't know, but. With that being said, again, still a great fight. I just feel like it is a shame to end it on that note. So for the main event of the evening, last but definitely not least, we had Jamal Hill going up against Glover Teixeira. What did you think about the absolute war that those two men put on inside that octagon?
Oh man, Glover Teixeira is a tough dude. He took a lot of punishment, but he still kept coming. He even got like 2 or 3 takedowns on Jamal Hill. That's just amazing. But honestly, Jamal Hill utilizing a lot of his skills, head kicks, body shots, head strikes. Although there was probably one thing I kind of want to see him work on is his grappling and how to finish a guy or get close to finishing a guy on the ground. Because I felt there were some moments he had Glover on the ground. Glover looked like he was about to be done, but somehow Glover managed to use his grappling to kind of fight off Jamal Hill and prolong the fight even longer. Got me a little worried, but Jamal Hill was taking apart Glover much of the fight actually. Head kicks, those were devastating, and it got to a point where Glover just kind of stood there and he didn't really actively block those head kicks. It looked like he was just stunned and he was like sitting duck. But for some strange reason, Glover still toughed it out and managed to get through 25 minutes with Jamal Hill. Great guy. Sad to see him go, but can't wait to see what Jamal Hill has in front of him going forward with the light heavyweight championship. What do you think?
Listen, I think that it's a shame that Glover is hanging up the gloves. As good as Glover is, I mean, for this man to stick in there with a much younger opponent, tooth and nail from beginning to end, and a guy like Sweet Dreams Hill, who is known for putting people on their backside, wiping them out clean, putting them to sleep. That is amazing and typical of who Glover Teixeira is. Now, my whole thing is that I believe that, and this is one thing that the coaches say for Hill, is that he's a quick learner. Is he going to be quick enough? is he going to, like, the grappling game, the wrestling game, the takedown defense, is he going to have that once he goes up against a guy like Jan Blachowicz?
Oh, yeah.
Is he going to have that when he goes up against a guy like Jiri Prochazka? I mean, Anthony Smith. There's so many guys in that division that can cause so much trouble and turmoil. And I'm not speaking ill of Hill, because I do believe that he has now the title for a reason. I mean, again, you look at his record, you see that he has no problem putting people out, period, right? I mean, he's fought he's fought people that are high level, and he's won. So I give him that credit. But again, if people show you a new look, how are you going to appropriately provide tactics for that or attack it? What I want to leave the people with is something exciting, something to think about. Glover loses, and then you get Poatan staring Hill down. My personal opinion is you're a new champion to a weight class that you are still new to for your art, right? He's not some 25-3 mixed martial artist. Do you think it's smart that, and I don't assume that the UFC is going to say, hey, we're going to put on a super fight between Alex Pereira and Sweet Dreams Hill, but what do you think about, one, the revenge effect of Alex staring down Hill? Does that get you excited?
That does get me very excited. Now he has a chip on his shoulder, and you would think, why would a champ have a big chip on his shoulder unless he's going to defend his friend, mentor's honor? I mean, the fact that it would be a great fight, and now that you have Pereira see his mentor lose in front of him, and you now have a target placed on Jamal Hill now, and honestly, a lot of great fights could be coming our way with Hill, Alex Pereira, Chimaev, maybe Jury.
Yeah,
Makhachev.
but here's the thing though. So that's one thing. It's a great fight. Absolutely. He's defending the guy who's been training him, getting him prepared and ready and able to beat Israel Adesanya, the freaking style bender.
Yep.
Yes. Is it smart? Is it smart for him to start thinking about outside of his division at this point?
Pereira should focus on his own division, and there are a lot of fighters who are looking to go after him for his title. I mean, Whitaker. You even have Israel Adesanya, and then you do have Chimaev. And just kind of a wrinkle with Pereira and Hill. That one is something you should look forward to in the next year or two. I can't wait for that, actually. It's like a difference of styles. We love different styles in fights.
So I have no beef with any fighters, especially not Alex Pereira. But I think focusing on your division is going to be one of the best things you can do when you have a guy like Whitaker in your division. You have a guy like Paulo Costa wavering in your division. You have a guy like Israel Adesanya who gave you an extremely tough time until you won. When you look at the things that I'm putting together for that fight, where he was getting out wrestled, right? He was getting outworked on the ground.
Oh, yeah.
And Izzy hurt him. Izzy hurt him bad.
Oh, yeah.
So for me, I would think if I'm in this position, I want to make sure I'm showing all that stuff up where I'm at now before I go up to fight bigger guys. We saw what happened with Israel against Jan Blachowicz.
Yeah.
And Israel was dominating that division. Israel had enough fights, a ton of fights in mixed martial arts. So again, I get the aspect of saying like, hey, like you have now dethroned the guy who has gotten me here, the one I owe a lot to because he has helped me become the champion within the UFC. I'm sure there's a level of respect, but there's gotta be, that's great. And I'm not saying that can't be something down the road, whether Hill has the belt or not, there still can be that revenge fight. Do you need to lose a big fight within the UFC in order, and maybe he wins. Maybe there's some, Spider-Man multiverse world where he does win against Hill. But I leave the world with this. Make sure you leave your comments down below, and I know that some of them will, because they're gonna be the people who are rooting for Alex Pereira to go up in weight, to win another belt, and show the world what Brazil is all about. And trust me, I'm gonna be just as excited as most people. I think he should give it some time.
I agree.
With that being said, guys, we know you made it this far. This is the Who Are They podcast. My name is D2 Nice.
We got Tiggy Maximus making his grand return to the stage.
We thank you. We appreciate you. We're going strong. It's 2023 and we're out. Peace.